Well, I mean, investing in this environment, I think it's the toughest environment in American history to invest in. Not only because the markets are so controlled, or maybe because the markets are so controlled, it's very difficult to tell which way they're going to go. Any asset class, I'd say, most people in my position buy gold, right? But if we're heading towards a deflationary credit contraction, no growth, it's not clear that gold is a good investment. Clearly, if we're heading towards hyperinflation, gold is a great investment. So I don't know. Right? So it's very, very hard, I think, today to make investment decisions. I would, and what I try to do is make them short term. And this is the problem right now. Nobody's making long-term investments in this economy. That's why the economy's not going anywhere. Businesses are sitting on cash. I'm sitting on cash. A lot of the people I know in the venture capital and private equity world are sitting on cash. They don't want to invest. Banks are sitting on $1.5 trillion of reserves at the Fed. They're not sending out loans. Nobody wants to make decisions because we don't know what the economic dictator, Bernanke, together with Geithner, will decide is good for the country tomorrow. So you're in deep trouble. And cash sucks, because inflation is, depending on how you measure it, but if you buy food and energy, which I think everybody does, right? Inflation might be as high as 8%, depending on who's measuring and how exactly you measure it. So sitting on cash means you're losing the value of your dollar 8% every year. I've got a little bit of my money, for example, in inflation index bonds, but that doesn't help because the index they're using is the CPI, which I think underestimates inflation. In other words, I don't have good investment advice for you. This is what I will say. As a young person, you think you're screwed now. Wait until I retire. I mean, I'm serious. You're going to have to pay my Medicare, I'm going to spend a lot of money on healthcare. And you're going to be paid for it. Now, you won't, because by then we won't be able to sustain the system. So, just to give you some numbers, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, unfunded, the unfunded portion of it. So, right, they've made promises, and we know who we've made the promises to, all of us. Over the next 50 years, we've made certain promises, and we can calculate what those are and do a discounted present value of those. And then we know how much taxes we're going to collect approximately, right? We know what the rate is, and we know approximately if GDP grows X percent. So the net gap between how much revenue is going to come into the government and how much is being promised to pay out, the net gap is anywhere, depending on your assumptions and the interest rate used to discount and all this stuff, is anywhere between negative 66 trillion and negative 116 trillion. Those are the kind of numbers that you can't get. I mean, the economy is a $50 trillion economy. This could be up to 10 times the size of the US economy. You can't tax that. Can't happen. So that's deep trouble. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and interest payments on the debt, 4 programs. By 2025, based on very, very generous, nice assumptions that are all government assumptions, consume every single dollar of revenue by 2025. Now, 14 years when you're young seems like a long time. It ain't. It ain't. It goes by like that. And it's going to be here. And if we don't do something in the next 14 years. So, what should you do as a young person? Fight. I mean, I'll give you this. I'll give you one thing. The Occupy Wall Street movement, I'll give them one piece of credit. They believe in something. It's vague. It's mostly about destruction and destroying values. It's mostly negative and bad. But they are willing to go out and live in tents in the snow in New York. They're willing to fight for what they believe in. It's time people who believe in capitalism started fighting for what they believe in. We sit in classrooms. We sit on the lecture circuit. We give talks to people who already agree with us. We do all this stuff, and yet there's a war going on. There's literally a war going on. And we need to start fighting this war like our life depended on it, because you know what? It does. Who's going to get eaten up first? We are. Those Occupy Wall Street people are going to eat us, right, if they win. Now, hopefully they don't. The Tea Party is great. I love the Tea Party. But they don't have ideas. And if people like us who do have ideas, or maybe more intellectual, maybe gone to school more, maybe understand economics, don't get involved with them, they've lost. And Occupy Wall Street wins. So to young people, I'd say, fight. Get involved, get engaged, it's your future. By the time you reach your peak earning years, I'll be retired and sucking that money away from you. You don't want that to happen. Right? And it's up to you, even more than it is up to me. It's really your battle, your fight, and you're going to be the losers if this goes the wrong way.